Hello world from Oktopost headquarters. This is Radically Transparent, Oktopost original podcast show on B2B marketing now. I'm Jennifer Gutman, Director of Social Strategy, and in most episodes of this podcast, we'll be featuring B2B marketing leaders who will share their radically transparent truths behind being a modern day marketer and what it takes to grow ideas, take risks, and impact change. Joining me on this episode is Sivan Felder, CMO of TwoHeads Consulting, a consulting agency that helps companies differentiate themselves from their competition by building loyal audiences through video content. Sivan, welcome to the show.
Oh, that was like a good intro. I like it. Nice. Yes.
Amazing. Did I hit all the nails?
Yeah.
There?
I even liked how you introduced the show. It's like, it feels like How I Built This by Guy Raz. So I feel even better now. Like, yeah. Okay, great.
Amazing. So for the viewers out there, I just wanted to kind of put out that I actually found Sivan, and what was so interesting about why we wanted her on the show so badly. We actually found her through LinkedIn, but through her content and her videos, which were super engaging on how to create videos. With video making being such a hot topic, Sivan, I was hoping maybe you could give us a little backstory behind TwoHeads, because your approach is unique. So tell us a little bit about how you got started and what exactly is TwoHeads.
That is a very good question. Okay. So my background is in video, the video industry. I'm self-taught actually. So I learned from editing wedding videos for some guy, which was great that he gave me a job. And it developed into me being even more interested in filming and directing. And I joined a production company for several years where I was the director and editor and screenwriter. And it was really an incredible experience. And I learned so much. And then about 2 years ago, I really felt that the video industry was just heading in a very different direction. I saw how companies were really needed to utilize video as a marketing medium, the same way that they were with writing on blog posts, right? And it wasn't anymore sufficient to just have this epic video created once a year and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop this gorgeous commercial that was going to be hosted on their website. Like B2B companies, they create these promos that like actors and props and different locations. And what became very clear is that wasn't going to be the case anymore, that companies were going to need to be creating 100 videos a year at a breakneck pace, the same way that you have a podcast episode every week. And so I really felt like there was a lot that I could offer in that space. So I'm not sure who convinced who to go off and start their own business, but my brother and I are business partners. And I think it was him, because he's the risk taker. He was like, why don't we just start our own thing? And in my mind, I was like, that sounds really complicated, but okay. Not knowing like how complicated it would actually be. So sometimes it's good when you make decisions without having all the information. But we 2 years ago set off to create our own agency. And now, since then, we've worked with some really incredible companies like Google Cloud, Mixtile, Signet, and we worked with them on creating the creative elements of a B2B campaign, as well as really optimizing their video content for audiences and for, like you said, building an audience. And I think that's really the direction that marketing is taking. It's not so much like, oh, here, I'm going to market to you. Now it's really about, here, I'm going to build a relationship with you. And that is really hard to do, and video makes it a little bit easier. So I like to think that we're helping companies really build relationships, and it just happens to be through video. That's so the two heads are better than one. So
okay. So you're
that's where that's kind of where it started, the background of the name. But it's been a very incredible experience. So I'm very thankful that I got the opportunity to do what I do.
I like that. Two heads are certainly better than one. And what I think is really interesting about this, right? So, you're using video to cultivate meaningful relationships, and, we've started our relationship, on social. I saw your videos. You were super personal.
Now we're best friends.
Yeah, we actually talk all the time. And the tips that you send over about, how to get certain things running. I know earlier, we were joking around about the microphones, and, you're just this expert in all things video. What I want to know, and in line with our show, right, Radically Transparent, what keeps you up at night in your role, at your job, about the future of video? And can you give us some of the hardships that you've encountered with this, or what are the struggles that you you see with video or challenges?
So I don't think that I don't think what keeps me up at night is unique about video. I actually think that a lot of creative, can't think of the word in English, that a lot of creative industries are experiencing this pivot right now. Where it used to be that video was this thing that only the experts could create, right? What has very quickly happened is with all of the availability of online editing softwares and just the amount of information out there, and the AI and whatever, people are very easily replaced because now you can create all those things on your own. And so it's because it's become so democratized, people are a lot less interested in expertise, I think. So one of the things that and really one of our business models isn't necessarily to create videos for companies, but to actually train them how to develop their own video initiatives in-house. And we train people how to edit and how to script, because I do think that the more available it becomes to create videos and the easier it becomes, the less relevant that I, as a video expert, essentially become. But I don't think it's specific to video. I see this with the graphic designers. I see this with, anyone who can do anything that can be outsourced to an algorithm or a platform. On the other hand, it actually creates this really incredible opportunity to be one of the only companies that goes about it this direction, which is, okay, we can teach you what to do. And we've created systems of how to make it super simple for you to do what we do. Obviously not to the same extent, but to a caliber that I think is very reasonable for people who aren't video experts. But I think at any point you become irrelevant and obsolete. So I think what keeps me up at night is one day I'll wake up and I'll be like, that's cool that you're a video expert. We don't need you to be an expert anymore. We'll just go to, some other platform and do it there. Totally. So it's always about staying relevant and staying up to date and innovating. That's the only option.
Yeah, no, I definitely can relate to that. And I think in our field, communication and media, it's always evolving. So we definitely have to evolve with it. And 2020, I think, has been no exception. We see an increase in remote work. So, and as you shared, a lot of companies are using, their employees and finding apps or new technology to create these mini videos that you need to, promote or talk about or create that meaningful connection and relationship. How do you see everybody moving to the home office impacting the video industry for the good, for the bad, for the ugly? And what does it exactly mean for those looking, let's say, who are working from home? What types of equipment do people even need to get started to be making, what you would consider a quality video or presentable video for social?
So I think it's actually been an incredible opportunity for everybody, because now that we are forced into a situation that we don't have control over, it actually gives a lot more flexibility. It's very interesting. I did a webinar with Taboola a few months ago, and one of the things that the Taboola, which is this, they have a lot of data, they shared that they want to see reflected in your videos and your ads, their current reality, right? So when COVID hit and everyone was going back home and no one was putting on these big productions, people did not want to see that. And a lot of companies actually scrapped these epic big productions that they had created because it wasn't going to resonate with their audience. And instead they made a lot more home video style. And we worked with a bunch of big companies that, would have invested $100,000 in one video to create these micro videos of their employees created with their webcams. And they were incredibly successful because that's what people really wanted. So I think it's always having your finger on the pulse of what audiences are responding to, and that constantly changes. Mm-hmm. But I would say right now, the two biggest types of videos that are being created from people's homes are these thought leadership videos, which are really, really big. And I'll explain what gear you need for that. Super simple. And more of these, off the cuff, just kind of maybe teams are creating behind the scenes stuff, kind of giving, again, that relationship building, sharing what's going on. A lot more humor, a lot more entertainment. It's not so much about sales and products. So that's been really, I know that you posted a few weeks ago about now it's not B2B or B2C, it's really P2P, which is people to people. So I think that the video space has really transitioned to reflect that. Now it's not a company video, it's a video that an employee created for their company and has a lot more of an authentic feel. So if you're at home or even if you're working in pods from your office, right, it's still not the same feeling. As you can see, I am in my living room, which also serves as my office. So, okay, so I would say that to get started, you need two things, and then you can upgrade. The first is you need a phone with a camera, and the second is you need a window. So I think people are always surprised by how simple it is to make a very professional looking video, right, with just some basic elements that are used in Hollywood that you can use too. So lighting is the most important. So like right now you're sitting a little bit in the dark, but if you turned your table to be right in front of, like to be facing your window, suddenly it would be an entirely different. Let's try. And you'll even see like the quality of the footage will change. It's very, because right now your camera's compensating for your dark. And here you are.
Tips right on the podcast for how to improve your video. Thank you, Sivan.
Look, it really impacts just the whole thing. So even if you're filming with a webcam, right, facing your window is going to make 10 times prettier than if you were sitting in the dark. So that's number one. And then the second is a phone. Here, I'll show you. I have an older iPhone. I'm definitely going to get the iPhone 12. That's going to change everything. This was not sponsored by Apple, but they just included Dolby Vision in their thing. So now you'll have like a DSLR camera on your phone, which is incredible. That's going to change everything. And I'll just show, I mean, I know this is a podcast, but there's if you press down on the screen of the camera for like 2 seconds, it says something that says AE lock. This is going to change your life, because when you film with your phone, what happens is that the light is going to constantly be shifting and like you'll be moving a little bit. So the phone is going to automatically be trying to compensate. So it's going to, and you're going to see that it's going to flicker a lot. The colors are going to change. You'll go from green to yellow to blue. As the light moves, your face will be in and out of focus. So by pressing AE lock, it keeps everything clean, and then it won't change the focus. So we discovered this in our first round of like using our phone, and I'm like, what is wrong with the footage? Like it literally is having a seizure. So we Googled all these things, and it's something super simple that, turn off my Slack, something super simple that can make a huge, huge difference when you're creating the video. So between those two really simple things, a window and AE lock on your phone, you're good to get started. And then if you want to upgrade, you can get like a little mic that plugs into your phone. Just for better audio quality, you don't need to have a fancy mic like we have. This is like $300 and this is $20 from Amazon. And then if you want to have something that stabilizes your phone, you can get a mini tripod, right? So I tell people to just start, and you can slowly add on based off of what you see you might need that will make it look better. But a window and a phone is an amazing place to start.
Well, I'm loving it. I hopefully we're all working at home with Windows.
I really hope so. If not,
there you go. Listen, so you actually brought up two interesting points. Data, which I'll get back to in a moment. And then the second piece around kind of the tools that you need to create the video, kind of taking that a step further, right? So what about how much time do you think, right? So we know what we need to create the video, but in terms of editing, in terms of scripting, in terms of all the other magical elements of film that you need to create, I mean, across social, we've all seen them, these quick, they're not even 30 seconds, some of them. How much footage and how much time would you say goes into making something like that? And then when a company is looking to add this to a role, or usually it falls into the social media manager's new role, right? It says it's an all-encompassing role that new skills are always needing to be gained. What would you advise, let's say, an HR manager in terms of creating the job description for this role, including video? How much of your day, or what are some tips that you can give about like the time and length?
So I think that this is actually where working with an expert does come in. I think the value that having the knowledge gives me is that I can do things a lot quicker because I know what's necessary and I know how to make the decisions and create the systems that will make everything fast. So for somebody who doesn't have any background in video, not only will it take you 10 times longer, but you're also going to spend the first several months putzing around and trying to figure out what works, which is the norm of every time you take on a new task. And then the same way you could Google certain things or take a course, right, to upskill your knowledge, it's still going to involve figuring out what questions to Google and making the mistakes. And then, oh, that was not the right thing. And then taking the course based on, so there's just that steep learning curve that I see a lot of people struggle with. So it is very, very time consuming when it is not something that you have done on the regular. And I'll just say scripting for video is really like a psychological thing, right? You need to understand it's not about giving over the information you want. It's about how can I turn the information I want to give over into something my audience will listen to. And I think that's where like our expertise does come in, because what I've noticed is people are very into telling their story and do have no idea how to get people to pay attention. And it's even now as I'm yammering, I'm like, is anyone even listening? And then you have to stop and be like, ask questions, so there's like a whole format that we're used to in conversation, but when it comes to video, people don't understand how to do that. So I would say, like, for example, we've gotten the process down to an hour. Like we have scripting templates. So everybody has the same template that they use that helps them formulate their thoughts in a very constructive way that then turns
1 hour per video or one?
Yeah, I mean, depending on the type of video, let's say like a talking head thought leadership video, in 1 hour, we can have the whole thing ready. Like our whole team, we've really like systemized it. And that's what we train like marketing teams to do is like, okay, let's turn this process into something that the job description is not, OPS, you'll be spending 80% of your time making videos, but once a week for 2 hours, you'll have like a time slot, which I think is a lot more manageable. And then in terms of the editing, there are two schools of thought, right? Do everything yourself, which is great, but incredibly time consuming. There's outsource, to somebody else. And I think those are the two main ones. So I would say at the beginning, if you're going to be editing on your own, to learn really like the basics of what you need. Don't get creative, don't get exciting, just be like cut. Learn how to turn it into a story that you can post online. And then as things develop and you start to create more of them and get more engagement, then you'll also kind of naturally evolve into more fancy things. And then you can decide if you want to outsource or if you want to do it on your own. But definitely at the beginning, like keeping it simple, like think of it like a blog post. What can I get out of here by tomorrow that's going to be watchable? Because people will watch it one time and that's it. Like this isn't like lasting forever. But there's a lot of like free tools online. Kapwing, it's a great resource. It's like you upload your footage and you can do all sorts of editing with it. Very, very basic. Clipchamp, I recommend to everybody. You pay per video and like you can edit pretty simply online. And that way I think it's just a matter of putting in the time and kind of learning how to do it as you go.
So you mentioned something in this, which is interesting. Psychology of video. I think that was the term you used. Why, right? So we've seen this shift of the blogs and the content and the posts shifting over into video. Why does video make people or more likely to buy? Like why is it more engaging? Why is video now the new channel that really is? And we see this right at Oktopost. We're a B2B social media management platform, and we can see in our own platform when videos are posted, engagement goes through the roof. Why is this?
This is my favorite topic, so cut me off when I like veer off into like, Sivan, it's been 2 hours. It's time to reel back. Okay, so I used to give this workshop all the time. And it's not the same experience when I do it on a podcast, but I'll kind of walk you through, how it goes. So the first thing I do is I show a sentence, right? A man is crying. And then I like just the words on the screen and everybody reads them. And then I show a picture of a man crying. And when I show the sentence, we kind of discuss, what do we know about this man? Why is he crying? Is it happy crying, sad crying? Where is he? What's going on, right? Like, and everybody has a different perspective. Maybe he's crying because he's happy. Maybe he's, walking down the street. Maybe he's in his room alone. Like nobody knows. It's a very isolating experience where you envision whatever you envision. The picture, already you see his face. So he's sad crying. Oh, okay. You still don't know why. You don't know where he is or what's going on. So it's still powerful because you feel the emotion, but you don't have a story to tell yourself. And then I show a video of a man sobbing hysterically in his car. It's from it's Matthew McConaughey from that video he did with the guy who has AIDS, and it's just devastating. I mean, like the music is, he's just sobbing, and it's like you feel like you want to cry. And you see like he's broken. He's in his car on the side of the road. So you already get that sense of like, he had to pull over, right? It suddenly becomes this sensory experience that you're experiencing the same as everybody else, right? We're all seeing the same story. And we're all experiencing the same music, and we all feel connected to this guy. And we also don't have to work hard to figure out the story because it's so there in front of us. So it really has a matter to do with the human brain, right? Human brains don't like to work. So when you give me a sentence, a man is crying, I have to work really hard to figure out who this man is and why he's crying. When you show me a video of a man crying, it's the most passive experience. I don't have to do anything. I just watch. And because of that, right, the less work I have to do, the more likely I am to participate, the more likely I am to then follow through. So when I get to the end of the video and it says click here, I'm like, oh, okay, right? And that's the only activity I have to do. It's so simple. So I think when it comes to understanding, audiences want to be spoon-fed, and humans are humans, and we don't like to work. And the more you give over complicated information, or the more you make me have to pay attention, the less likely I am. Which is even something as simple as adding subtitles, right? That can increase your watch through. Like 85% of videos are watched without audio. So it's like these small things, like the less I have to work, the more likely I am to participate. So between it being a very sensory experience, not having to work, and everybody seeing the same thing, so we feel very connected, it's just like a psychological phenomenon that's like, this is the most powerful. And that's why I think it's so important to understand. That's why it's powerful. Not because you're an amazing storyteller or you have the most interesting thing to say or you're a good speaker. It's that authentic, like, oh, this is a real person that I am connecting with that is worth 100 blog posts and 1,000, written ads.
Absolutely. No, listen, and we're seeing this, and earlier you said something about data, right? Which kind of brings me to my next question, and where I think a lot of B2B marketers may be struggling is it's one of those things where you need video. You're not really maybe sure how much of it yet, or kind of the frequency of how much you should be posting video. But I think one of the biggest questions we get hit with as B2B marketers is, how do you measure video, and is this scalable? And that, for Oktopost, our whole tagline is we make it measurable. So Sivan, how do you make videos that you can measure? And is it even possible?
I love this question. You're asking the right question, right? Because people come like, we just need more videos. And I say, why? And they're like, I don't know, but we need them, right? So I think qualifying it in terms of like a number or data or actually having some goal you're trying to achieve is the first step. Like, don't just start creating videos if you don't know why you're creating them. Okay, so this really has to do with, again, just look at it like any marketing medium, right? How do you establish the ROI of a blog post, right? Well, it's because you first set a goal. So my goal is for this blog to rank number 1 on Google. Maybe the goal is to increase traffic to my, website. Maybe the goal is just to establish myself as a thought leader, right? So whatever your goal is, that's how you're going to establish your metrics. So let's say your goal with video is to, let your audience know about a new product feature that you've released. So how are you going to track the success? Well, you're going to track the success by how many new customers are calling, or maybe how many previous customers are like, oh, we heard about this new product feature. We're super interested, right? Maybe you're going to qualify it by the number of clicks you get, or the number of new traffic to your website, right? Whatever your goal is, you have to measure how you're achieving that goal. So I think with video, people still think about it in this theoretical. I'll post a video and it will raise brand awareness. What does that mean? What awareness of your brand are you raising? You cannot measure brand awareness. It's a great goal to have, but don't start with that. That's when you've really nailed the whole video thing. So I think you need to give yourself 3 months. I think, which, everyone's like, I want to see immediate results. 3 months is super fast. Like, I'm sorry, 3 months is a joke. And I'll just give you an example. We worked with this company last year in Chicago, small startup, not a very small marketing team, like 2-3 people. And they really wanted to up their thought leadership. Just on LinkedIn, they were doing all of these events. It's very tiring. They were trying to build an audience of people who really didn't even understand why they would need the product, let alone buying it. We taught them in 1 week. We trained them we came up with their video strategy. We explained to them, all the elements. We taught them how to script, how to film, how to edit. They went on to create a video every week for YouTube and LinkedIn. They increased their YouTube, we helped them set up the SEO, everything, so that the same way that their blog was generating traffic, their YouTube channel was doubling that traffic. And then the thought leadership videos for LinkedIn were, all of a sudden they were being invited to speak at different places, just posting a video a week, I think they said it tripled their inbound leads, all sorts of crazy things. But it wasn't because they were like, oh, we just want to increase brand awareness. We set very trackable metrics. We want to increase the number of people who come to my YouTube channel by 10%, right? We want to have the number of engagements that we get on LinkedIn. We want to increase that, and then setting a hard number and being like, okay, great, that's what we're going to achieve. So if you set really trackable metrics and you know exactly what your goal is, it's very, very easy to to test. It's just when you're like, I need more video. How are you testing if it's successful, right? So it all comes down to like the goal that you're setting. That was a long answer, but I think more or less it covered.
I think it's helpful. Listen, to be, again, when you're looking to measure social, there's always this conversation also comes up. What are you looking to do with it? What do you want to measure? And, in Oktopost, we have this BI dashboard that you can really drill down. It's all about making things measurable. When it comes to video and employees, I want to touch on this topic. I know you and we chatted a bit about it. And I'm curious into some of the insights in terms of video and employee engagement, employee advocacy. So for the listeners, right, employee advocacy is really when you're giving content to your employees to share. They share that on behalf of their social channels. Then they themselves become thought leaders in the industry. And then for the brand, your reach is actually able to go much further because your employees are sharing that. When it comes to videos, social selling, employee advocacy, where do they sit in this space? I mean, should companies be incorporating, their employees inside of their videos? Should they have one go-to person to be kind of the company thought leader and face? And really in terms of social selling, and I know this is a kind of a three-part question, but in terms of social selling, do you think video has a place?
So first of all, video is the place, especially in 2020. If you're not, I know this sounds like, so like if you're not doing video, and I agree, like that it's easier said than done for sure, but it's actually easier than you think it is. So don't allow that to stop you from not investing in video. In terms of how you structure this video initiative, this actually goes back to a question you asked before, which I never answered, which is the scalable. Like how do you scale something like this? So I think this is why it's so important to forget everything you know about video and approach it from a different perspective. Like this is what I talk about all the time. Like stop thinking about video as like cinematography, right? This is not, no one is testing you on how pretty your angles are and how gorgeous your footage is, right? It's about capturing your audience's attention and evoking an emotion. So sorry, in English, that's it. It's just those two things. That's what selling is, right? Persuasion is evoking an emotion and attention. And if you learn how to do those two things with video, then you have a recipe for incredible scalability in sales. And the way you scale it is by structuring within whatever your workplace environment is, what is the most efficient use of your team's time, and how can we manage this workflow? So one of the things that we do with companies is we go in and we study, how does your team create content right now? And how can we implement video initiatives that is actually scalable for your team? So it might be that for one company, let's take Gong, for example. I love what they're doing. And everybody's like obsessed with them. And I'm like, guys, they're doing it correctly. Just literally copy what they're doing. It's not so complicated. But they have a few, they have Sarah, she's a female, on the team, and a male. So that's really cool. They have Devin Reed. So it's like a male and a female, thought leaders, which I think is great. They really talk about, it's a lot of top of the funnel content of sales and, not so much selling what they do, but really establishing themselves as industry experts. And what that does by proxy is lends itself to Gong becoming the industry expert. Like, oh, if you have these people who work for you and this is the information they're giving me, how much more so this like huge company must be the experts in this space. And that's really what it's all about. So in their case, they have like two thought leaders. And then I know the CMO also does a lot of videos and podcasts and all that kind of stuff. And some companies, they have one person. It's just like the spokesperson who's the face. That's harder to find. And I think harder to do because it's not as scalable, because one person is one person and you can't, multiply one person. So I think having multiple people who might be maybe expert, Drift is another great example. They have all their employees in different videos. And their former CMO, David Gerhardt, he was very prominent in them, but there's a lot of other videos with even like marketing managers, like super low on the totem pole, not executives, sharing knowledge in their content. And I think really the way it's scalable is to let everybody use their phones, to have a system and a workflow, and to let, so it's like there's very specific guidelines of what people are creating, and like really let them create that content for you. That's like going to make a machine, and then you'll have hundreds of videos as opposed to like two. So it is scalable, it is doable, and employees should be, especially for B2B, where it's all about like, well, what value will your product bring to me? Like, here's all the value.
So you mentioned earlier that TwoHeads actually does trainings on how non-necessarily video people can become video experts. Did I hear that right?
Well, I can't turn you into a video expert because I've been doing this for 10 years. And if I said that I could turn you into a video expert, I would be out of a job tomorrow. But we can turn you into every company we've worked with. There has never been a video person on the team. But what we found is, let's say, graphic designers that have a basic knowledge of using certain softwares are very easily trainable in video editing. We found that people in marketing who are a little bit more outgoing are great on camera with some basic guidelines. We found that people who can write can learn how to script when they have a formula. So we just put it into like a whole system. And 1 week we can the people that we've worked with, they all are still creating videos, 6 months, a year later. And that, I think, is a testament to, if you build a structure and everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing and all you have to do is execute on your tasks, you can create a machine. That's how companies are built. So if you have a workflow in your company for creating blog posts, like, let's create a workflow for creating videos, and it will be just as smooth. So yes, we don't train every single person in every single thing. That, I think, is a lot of just a workload not meant for one human being. But we can create a team of people who can put out video content every day, every week. And it's been cool to watch what started off as a test for, like, I don't know, can we do this? I'm like, oh, wow, this really works. Okay, amazing.
I have two final questions for you. So, one, what can you tell us, Sivan, about yourself? Besides that, we know that you are literally the expert of video, and that you love the psychology of video. What can you tell us about yourself that we cannot find on your LinkedIn profile or through your LinkedIn videos?
I think that this is actually, I think in the professional world, it wasn't as accepted to say something like this a few years ago, but I think now it's such a huge part of who I am. I have 2 small children. And I think that especially during this pandemic, I have come to realize that so much of my professional life is so intertwined with them, and how I view success and how I view being a woman who really wants to have a successful career and make a name for herself. So I feel like, while this professional part of me is very professional, it really my children really encompass like a very big part of who I am and what I do. And I feel like only recently have I started to discover more female role models like that. And I really want to be one of them for the future generation. So I hope, just by being more open about the fact that that is a reality, like, I don't try to hide them. I don't try to pretend like I'm like, no, I can work all hours of the day and night and like 80-hour week works like Elon Musk. I'm like, that would not work for me. That I really want to drive the next version of what success looks like for the world. So that's something I haven't put on my LinkedIn profile yet, but maybe I should.
Now our listeners know, and as a mother myself, I think that that's super inspiring. So you've definitely gained gained a like and a follow. And speaking of likes and follow, Sivan, where can we find you? Where can we find TwoHeads, and more information about who you are, what you do, and how we can get our hands on some video trainings and all the wonderful things you provide for B2B marketers?
So I would actually suggest that you join our Facebook group, B2B Video for High-Tech Marketers. We post all of our content there, and like specifically just content that we create for the group. We answer questions, and it's a lot of other marketers who are struggling with the same things that you are. So just having one place to bounce ideas off of or get feedback. All our team is in the group, so we answer questions all the time. As simple as what lighting should we use to help, why is this video not working? So that I would say is a really good resource. And on our website, we have tons of guides. It's twoheadsil.com. Okay. Tons of guides getting started. You can keep up to date on what trends are in the B2B industry right now. You can just download them and utilize them. So that would be my, and on LinkedIn, I love to connect with people. So.
Fantastic. And I can attest to that. I connected with Sivan. She was super quick to respond, super friendly. And as we said earlier, we're now best friends. So
and here we are. We're moving in together next month.
There you go.
But come over for coffee after the pandemic.
Amazing. So everybody, Sivan Felder, CMO of TwoHeads, thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. And we look forward to hopefully having you on another season.
I'll be back. Fantastic.